Welcome everybody to Pro Mindset Podcast. This is your host, Craig Doman. Today we have a baller in the house. We have an entrepreneur, an author. We have a gentleman by the name of Nick Mornard. Nick, welcome to Pro Mindset today.
Thank you so much, Craig, for having me.
All right, boss. Why don't you share with everybody your elevator speech? Kind of share with them, you came from Europe, that type of thing. You played ball, and you end up with this book. So just don't going. I'm going to ask you lots of questions, but just kind of give us an overview.
No, absolutely. So I moved to the United States 11 years ago to Florida. That was my all-time dream. Piggyback a little bit in the past. When I was 9 years old is the first time that my parents, traveled to the United States with me. And since that day, I had literally an American flag everywhere in my bedroom, the kid dreaming about the American dreams. And at 11 years old, I had my first dream board. And on top of the dream board was, one day I will be an American. And everybody always laughed with me about this. And it happens after a lot of work, but I finally was able to get in. And yeah, so I'm sure you will ask a lot of questions about the journey, but basically what I want to convey is you will have a lot of challenges in your life to get where you were to where you want to be. And the book is all about my journey, about all the obstacles, all the challenges that I had during those 25 years and how to make sure to overcome those with the right mindset. And so by sharing my story with a lot of people when I moved to the US, without knowing a word of English, without knowing no one 11 years ago, I decided to write a book because I became a mentor just because people asked me to talk to them and to improve their mindset. And so I decided, I can probably reach a larger amount of people by writing a book. And so after writing the book and publishing it October 1st, I was surprised to get to a bestseller in 2 weeks. And since then, it's a great ride. I was able to meet a lot of new people and impact more life, which is the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. Okay, Nick, so what position do you play in hoops?
Power forward. I was a small power forward. I'm 6'8". So I was never one of the tallest at my position, but I like contact. So that was my position.
You were a bruiser. So how many years did you play professional basketball?
Professionally, 4 years, from 16 years old to 20 years old. Then I got a career-ending injury. I was in the hospital for 6 months with a very bad back injury. But I tried to play ball after a year and a half, and I played another 9 years semi-pro. But I never was able to train every day after that injury that I had while playing basketball. So I needed to pivot with no degree, needed to pivot and start again.
Okay, Nick, you said you had a dream board at 11.
Mm-hmm.
Who gave you the idea to do a dream board?
Well, funny enough, it was one of my school teacher. My school teacher, I always was the kid with a lot of questions. I always want to know more. And one day my school teacher told me about having a dream board, putting on paper what you think and the law of attraction pretty much. And I decided to ask my dad to buy me like a board. And I was writing down like different objectives that I had in life. And the first one was literally become an American U.S. citizen.
Who was your idol in the U.S. that motivated you to want to become an American? Like, who did you look to? Was it a basketball player? Was it a movie star? Was it a politician? Who was it?
Yeah, so I'm from Belgium, as mentioned. And so the big star in Belgium was Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I know he's not all in there now with all the drugs issue that he's been through, but he was such a popular, LA superstar at the time with his movies. And I was listening to all his interview, understanding how he became popular in the US. And this journey was pretty incredible to get from Brussels to LA and to become like a superstar at one point. And so that's the kind of parkour that I try to emulate. It didn't go that way, but that was the first one that really opened my eyes about the American dream. But then, of course, watching basketball, of course, MJ, Michael Jordan, and more, playing basketball at young age. I always said one day I will be there. I never reached the NBA level. So it doesn't mean that you fail by not achieving everything that's on your dream board. But if you don't have any goal, you will definitely never reach nothing.
Amen to that. Okay, so let's dive into mindset.
Mhm.
What was your mindset when you're an athlete, and compare that to the mindset that you have today?
Yeah, great question. So at 16 years old, being a professional in Europe, I was the youngest, of course, in the team. But at 17, I became a team captain. So I was literally like voted by teammates to become a team partner. I think the reason why is because I do believe that anything is possible. And even though we didn't have the best roster at 16 years old, I did believe that we could achieve greatness. We didn't win the championship that first year, but we had the lowest budget in the league at the time, and we finished fourth out of 14 teams. So the motivation and the never give up attitude. And even if we have a one or two bad games in a row, like continue to be positive, work hard at training in order to get back stronger on the game, and always trying to be better by believing in self, believe in the team spirit that we had. And I believe that it was my mindset at the time. So the motivation was there, but I didn't know what I didn't know at the time. So during the next 15 years, I learned about more practical things to do in order to elevate. So, but I always had that mindset of if I do something, I want to be great at it. Otherwise, I don't want to do it. So I didn't reach the highest level in basketball, but I did reach certain level. And yeah, so always trying to continue to improve it by listening to authors, by listening to books or reading books, whatever you prefer to do, and having a mentor. Mentor was key. At 20 years old, I had my first mentor, and that's where everything started shifting for me.
What's the number one thing, if you could only describe the most important thing that your mentor helped you with mentally, what was it?
Be coachable. That was something that, because a lot of people think that they know a lot or they know everything. But if you're not able to take a step back and look at all the great things you achieve in life, but all the things that you missed along the way, and if you're not willing to learn of how to elevate again, then you will never improve. And the journey of improvement is forever. You never get where you want to be, but you get closer and closer to it. And that's really the message of my first mentor, like always be coachable and willing to learn to get better.
What is the number one message you share with your mentees as a mentor?
Well, pretty much the same thing. You will never find someone who will give you every tool to be successful. But by talking to multi people that are where you want to be, you will get something from everyone. And if you can adapt, take all those things that you receive from each person and make it your own, that's where you are able to reach the level you never thought possible.
It's not about one person having everything.
No.
It's about a lot of people having one thing.
Exactly. And that's what I'm doing with I have a terminology saying the 1% push. And I believe that each person that are around you can give you that 1% push. So with multi people that can give you the message and give you the tool that are needed, you will be able to get closer and closer to the 100% needed.
You shared that, I call it, we have an island we live on, and then we have a dream island, and that's where we want to go. And there's always a gap. There's always water, that you have to navigate to get from where you're at to where you want to go. And you can take a boat, you can swim, you can build a bridge, you can get there a lot of different ways. But it's that concept that you're not where you want to be. And when you're not where you want to be, it motivates you to keep going because you're trying to get somewhere you're not at. So it's the journey versus the destination. Here's what I see happening with most people. The bigger the dream, sometimes the bigger the disappointment, the bigger the failure. And they've got a choice, and sometimes it's easier to quit or change their dream. How do you coach people through big time adversities?
Yeah. So great question again. I think that what I mentioned already about taking a step back is huge, because in your search for, whatever goal you have, you will have adversities, you will have challenges. But if you're not ready for those, that's where you will quit a lot faster. So I prepare them for things that we don't know what, but something will happen. And I prepared them to take a step back, breathe, smile, look back at everything you achieved from where you were to where you are today, and embrace the challenges, because it will make you better for whatever is next challenges in front of you to reach what you want to reach. So my big takeaway and something I always try to understand in people is like, are you ready for what you are not expecting? And if you're ready for that, anything can happen. You will never give up. And my story, by coming to the United States, the first 3 years were awful, like awful. I didn't know nothing. I didn't know the language. And people in my ear, back home, my dad, my close friends, come back home. You have everything you need in Belgium. Come back home. And I refused it. I'm like, I made it in Belgium. I will make it in the United States. It will take me time. It will happen. And I'm not where I want to be, but I'm a lot further than where I thought I would be after 11 years. And that's the beauty of life. You always have something more to achieve. And I think if you can share that message to people around you, you will reach a lot more than what you thought first.
How do you get ready for the unexpected? When we all have dreams, we may have to increase our capabilities. We may have to get more education, may need to get more experience, may need to get bigger, faster, stronger, those type of things if you're an athlete. If you're a business person, you may need more capital, more people capital too, not just financial capital. But how do you get ready for the unknown? How do you prepare for that?
Well, there are multi ways. I do believe in life you have a lot of different answers who are good. There's only one who resolve everything. For me, are the people that I partner with around the way. I do believe that you are the average of the 5 person that you spend the most time with. It's well known. But if you surround yourself with people that are better than you, are better skills, more skilled than you from what you want to achieve, I do believe that you will have the support needed, because alone you can achieve nothing. You will have the support needed when those things happen. If you surround yourself with people who have a negative attitude, a laziness around you, someone who is not where you want to be, if you are the smartest person in the room, you will probably not succeed. So I always suggest people talk to more people that have what you want to have and seek for informations. And so when you will reach those challenges, you will have those people who will help you navigate those challenges better, because they've been through those challenges themselves more than not. And so that's my way to work for myself, but also to teach my mentees to always surround yourself with those kind of people.
Okay. Well, we're going to get into your mindset as your degree, your book in a minute. I've written a book called Pro Mindset, and it's really about performing your best in your biggest moments. And it has a 3-part framework. It's about who you are, how you do what you do, so that you can show up the way you want to show up and perform the way you want to perform. And it starts with identity. It's your story. It's who you are. And what I find in sports is that, in business too, you can't achieve what you're not capable of living in that space, meaning that you have to become it before you can do it. And in basketball, at 16, when you're among adults, you had to have a lot of maturity to step into that space. At 17, being the team captain, you had to have a little extra gear than some of these other guys did, especially mentally, or they wouldn't have nominated you captain. Pro teams don't pick the youngest guy to be the captain. It doesn't work that way. So you had something, and it was your identity. You may not have had the best jump shot. You may not have had the best moves. You may not have been the best defender. You may not have had the best handles. I could go on and on. But you had the mindset that some of these guys that were older perhaps didn't have. What is the mindset you had at 17 that was in your identity? It was who you were, that allowed you to just be you, and they elected you captain of your team.
Yeah, so what I do believe is I love people, and I want to learn about their story, even from the young age. I did believe that played a role. Why? When you get beginning of the season during the training camp, I learn about my peers. I ask them questions. I'm interested to learn about them, and I'm genuinely interested to learn. And so I always have one-on-ones. It's not only in business that you have that. In sport, it's the same. And I was a young guy, but I was hungry. I wanted to do great. But in sports, the only way to do great in basketball is to be great as a teammate, you know? So I try to be close to each and every one of them. I try to understand their story. I try to understand what inspired them. What are they why? Like Simon Sinek, like start with why. So it's very important for me to understand that. So when they are down, they're down, like you said, first half, the shoot doesn't go. And you see the heads hanging and stuff like that. You see that every game. You watch college, you watch NBA, every game you see even the top players like that. I go to them and I shake them and I'm like, remember what you shared with me about your why. Don't give up. Second half is another story. We cannot change the past. We can change the future. Come on, let's go. Like a little pep talk that will motivate them to get back. And I did that during the whole preseason leading to the first game of the season. And that's where they name, the coaching staff do the voting to name the captain. And I do believe that all those steps made people trust me to be the person who can change a negative situation into a positive one. And you're right. I was definitely not the best player of the team. I was not the most athletic neither. But I was the guy that always believed that we could achieve it. We could beat that team that nobody believed that we could. Things of that nature.
You were the positive influence in the locker room. You gave guys hope, and you were like an echo for your teammates in the sense that when they were down, you were that echo that shared with them. This is what you told me. This is why you're doing what you're doing to feed your family or get to the NBA or whatever it might be. And sometimes when people are struggling, they just need to be reminded of what their purpose is and what their dream is. And when you were in that role, that's what you did.
It is 100% what I did. And because nothing special, it's just be the voice of and the positivity, yes, in the team and the belief factor that, yes, we can. And if we don't, well, we learn, like no failure. We just learn. And now if we don't work towards improving it, that's another problem. But yeah, the positive attitude. I always remember that the movie Any Given Sunday with, Al Pacino going in the locker room at halftime. That's one of the most powerful 5 minutes in cinema for me, but I love that. Yeah, it doesn't go through the X and O's. It goes to the mental. And then they come out, they come in the locker room like nothing will happen. I cannot wait for this game to be over. We lost. And then to come back on the field and a totally different attitude.
Being an NFL agent for 30 plus years, I can tell you that the mindset is what carries guys, past their point of frustrations and disappointments. And when teams draft people to take their place and they don't give them a fair opportunity to play and take their reps away and all the things that happen in professional sports, the only thing that can sustain them, it's like the fuel, is that positive belief that I'm going to do it no matter what. They almost don't believe their circumstances. Too many people look at their circumstances and they're broke, they're unhealthy, they've got fractured relationships, they're in a tough spot, and they just look at the tough spot. Where the people that have the best mindset, they look at that dream island, regardless of what spot they're in. Agree, disagree? Your perspective.
Couldn't agree more. For me, yes, you need to have the skills. Definitely, we're talking NFL in this case and sport in general, but you can do everything right on the training. But if you don't train your mind, you will probably not achieve what you could achieve. I'm more into basketball. I love football, but so many players coming on a draft and they are overly talented. There's just one thing that's the problem is what's in their mind. And the opposite as well. Some players comes with like talking about basketball. Tom Brady was not one of the best players coming out of college with Michigan, but he had that mindset that I'm gonna make that team and I'm gonna stay. I will get a chance, and when I get a chance, I will never leave it. Then he got Drew Bledsoe happen. And then he comes and he never left. It's strong, Purdy right now. I mean, all those stories, they're not the best, but they're an impeccable mindset that nothing and no one can change. And that's the power that it's within you. And only you can get that out with help from mentors, from who you surrounded with and things of that nature. That helps. So yes, I totally agree with you.
Well, I think when you talk about power, you get power from your abilities and from your talent, but you get unlimited, and it's limited. You can only vertical jump, let's say 44 inches. I don't know what the world record is, maybe 50 by somebody that doesn't play basketball. But for basketball guys, it's low 40s. And that's ridiculous. Okay. Some guys are in the 20s, but you can only go so high. But in your mindset, there's unlimited potential to overcome adversity, to find a path to victory, to find a way to develop a relationship with a teammate or coach that maybe doesn't want to have a relationship with you, to earn the trust of your teammates and your coaches so that you get more PT. That's unlimited. Power of your mind is unlimited. The power of your body is limited.
You said it perfectly.
Okay, so you have a Texas helmet behind you, if I can see that correctly. What's up with that?
Yeah.
You're from Belgium, you're living in Florida, and now you think you're a Longhorn fan? What's the deal?
No, it's not now. I was 18 years old. So at 16 years old, I got invited to a summer league camp in Wake Forest University. It was Coach Dave Hodham, basketball coach at the time over there, but during Tim Duncan final year. And I did 2 summer league back-to-back there during the interseason because I was playing professionally at the time in Europe. So the rules at the time were different. Now if you make money in Europe, you cannot get a scholarship in college. But at the time, back in 96, 97, it was different. So anyway, after those 2 years, I got a full scholarship from Wake Forest, but I'm an only child. My mom didn't really want me to move to the United States, and I was making money, and I never saw a college game in my lifetime that was not on TV in Europe at the time. And then so I declined the offer to get this full scholarship. And then I'm home, and the next year is the first year that college basketball was live on TV in Belgium. And the first game of the season they showed was Wake Forest University against Duke. I literally cried. I was looking at 18,000 plus people. I played in front of 1,000, 1,500 people on Saturday. The atmosphere, and I'm like, I said no to that because I had no idea that it was, for me, it's school and you play, so. And the second game was Texas playing. And I directly fell in love with the, burn orange, the style of play that they had. And it never left me. I remember it was my birthday a month or two later, and I kept telling my dad about Texas Longhorns, and he bought me like a Texas Longhorn jersey and stuff. And it stuck with me. I was a Longhorns fan since Longhorns.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about that, Nick. Sorry to hear about that. You can get therapy for that,
My God, are you a OU fan or?
No. I'm a Jayhawk fan. I'm a Jayhawk.
Jayhawk, okay. Well, I like them. I have nothing against Jayhawk. I like them in basketball. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're good. That's where I went, and Allen Fieldhouse is one of the coolest places to go watch.
I so want to go watch a game with Big Bill Self.
Well, it's amazing. It's like better than any concert you could ever go to. It is It's crazy. It's like a drug for people. They could have snow and sleet and bad weather, and they still show up and sell out every single game because it's like a drug. It's crazy.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's jump to your book.
Okay.
Mindset is My Degree is your title. Why is that your title? What does that mean?
Well, as mentioned, I don't have a college degree, anything like that. I have barely an high school degree. And I think that it was it was the best title like I could find, because not having a degree doesn't define you unless you want to be a doctor, I guess, or something like that. But having the mindset can get you anywhere. And I'm the perfect example from that. Like I said, moving to a country, not knowing no one, not the language, and restart everything from zero, being completely broke after 9 months because I didn't know about something called credit history. And I arrive in US and I hear about that credit history thing. And that was challenging. You cannot get nothing without having a credit history. And in Europe, we don't have that. So I came, I said, okay, I have like a little amount of money. I will be fine. And no, I need to pay cash for everything. Even my renting an apartment, I need to give 6 months, the 6 months rent in one time. I needed to go to 23 different dealerships in order to get a leased car to build my credit because I get declined everywhere. And the car was a garbage Ford car, and it cost me $7,000 for down payment for 2 years and $750 a month. And the insurance, since I'm a new driver, since they don't take into consideration the driving history in Europe, I'm a new driver. So my insurance was $800 a month. So for this car, the amount of money I spent was insane, but I need to do it in order to build any kind of credit history. So yeah, it was very, very challenging. So the mindset needed to be there. Otherwise I would have said like, hey, I'm done here. I'm going back to Europe, you know? But I'm like, I remember telling my dad, even if I have to sleep under the bridge, I will do that and I will make it, but I'm not coming back to Belgium. I will come back to Belgium when I have something established here. And that's literally what happened. Like the book explained that. The first part of the book is all about how did I move from Belgium to the US? What steps did I made in order to be able to do that? Then the luck of the draw, because you need to be lucky, but you need to force the luck. And then the second part of the book is all about the leadership aspect of my journey and the mentorship program and all of it.
What was credit history the most challenging thing about moving here? Or was there something else? Because that sounds pretty crazy. Was the credit history your most?
Yeah, I mean, credit history is what's in my mind. It's really that.
Yeah, you can't grow, you can't live, you can't drive. I mean, it affects everything. You can't buy, you can't, everything is your credit history. And the crazy thing now is that if you get out of college and you have no credit cards, you have no credit history, they make you spend money as a deposit and then give you that back as a credit limit until you do that for 6 months before they even establish any credit for you. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I'm sorry there. Here's what I want to do. I want you to pretend like I don't know anything about mindset. And I tell you I have a dream. Kind of walk me through your steps of how to help me understand how to get to my dream. I don't have it written down. I just, it's something I've been thinking about for, let's say I'm in my 20s. I was thinking about it since I was 7. This is my dream. Can you build me a business plan for how to get to that dream?
I can ask you a lot of questions to get the answers.
Do it.
Yeah. So Greg, you have a dream. What is your dream?
Like every young boy in the United States, I want to play professional sports.
That's fantastic. That's great. And what is your current level on that sport?
Okay, so let's say it's football. Right now, I'm not very good. I'm kind of chubby. I'm working on it. But yeah, I'm not very good. I'm not even starting in high school, and I'm thinking I'm going to play in the NFL.
Good. So you have a dream. So that's your dream, right? How bad do you want that to happen?
Very bad.
Very bad. And you said that you're working on it currently. Can you give me the steps of what are you currently working on?
Well, I've been, traditional things like lifting weights. I cut out drinking soda. I am getting more sleep. My dad hired me a personal trainer, so I am learning to get faster.
Okay. Do you feel like it's helping you get somewhere within your team, in high school team? You said that you're not starting yet. How long did you start this process?
Let's just say I started the last couple of years and I'm getting a lot better, but my coach doesn't see me. He sees me as the kid that showed up the first day in high school, that didn't know much about the game and was overweight. and kind of slow and couldn't chew bubble gum and walk at the same time.
Okay. How are your teammates seeing you? Same as the coach, or they see you? They see you.
They see me. They see me because we play pickup games in the off season. They see me. The coaches don't see me.
Okay. Did you have a chance to have a conversation with the coach?
I haven't had a conversation with the coach.
Why?
Coach is mean. Coach is a authoritative kind of coach, a dictator type of coach. It's his way or the highway. Doesn't want to have a conversation.
All right. Do you think that that coach will be at the top when you reach your dreams or not?
Meaning,
Do you think that he will still be responsible for your success or failure when you reach your goal to be an NFL player?
I can't let him be an obstacle to my dream.
Okay. You said that your teammates see you and value you. Can you tell me more about how are they helping you in your process to get better?
They work out with me. They invite me to sessions outside the team.
Okay.
It's kind of like, when you play pickup ball at the gym, if you're the worst player, you're the last guy picked. I'm not the last guy picked. They see my value, but my coach at the moment doesn't see my value.
Okay. I want you to stop thinking about the coach, because what I see here is that you have an obstacle. The challenge is the coach. And every answer you gave me so far, it include your coach. So I will give you like a little story. If you're driving and you have an accident happening on the left, if you look constantly on what's happening at the accident, the chance for you to hit it is a lot higher than if you look at the road who is totally clear on the right side. So I would advise you to stop thinking and looking at what is the challenge today and look more at what is the end goal. I know in your mind, if the coach doesn't see you and doesn't make you play, you will not be able to reach that goal. But you have other ways to improve and to make a name for yourself. The next question is, how is your attitude during trainings? There is a training session. How is your attitude? Are you down because of the coach, or are you positive because of the love of the game and the love from your teammates?
I'm very positive.
You're very positive. So when the coach, do you have any playing time?
Not much. Let me jump in here real quick, Nick. Your suggestion to not focus on the problem and to focus on the dream is the answer. I met with a young man last week who has an issue with a coach. He's in college football. He's a 4-star. He should be playing. He's not seen by his coach. He's not liked by his coach because his coach is not the one that recruited him. And I mentored him, and I told him to focus on him, not his coach. You said it better than I did, which is focus on your dream more than the coach. So that is the way. That is the way, is when they have goals and dreams, and they focus on the adversity, and they focus on the challenges, and they focus on their problems, and they focus on the people that are in between them and their dream, you'll never get to your dream. And I talked to this young man a couple days after I initially talked to him, and the coach said a condescending comment to him again. And I said, what'd he say? And he said, I can't remember. I said, what do you mean you can't remember? He says, I didn't let it bother me, right?
He's on his way.
Yeah. And then I coached in high school football for a handful of years, and our team was very successful, and my boys played. And I remember the head coach at one time asking me, is there anybody that played 7-on-7 in the off season that's going to surprise? And I told him this young man's name. He said, I never played for me. I said, why not? He didn't play as a freshman, didn't play. He's never played. I said, all I know is he's one of our best players. He will play. So we started fall camp, and by the end of fall camp, he wouldn't give the kid 2 looks, but by the end of fall camp, he was a starter. and he led our team in interceptions. And he had a fantastic senior season because that coach finally saw that kid. And I think that I'm the one that opened the door, cracked just a little bit for the kid to tell the coach, hey, this guy's got something. Maybe you might want to take a second look at him. So what happens a lot of times when we have adversity and we're focusing on the adversity, we're giving up our power to that coach. And we just focus on our mission, our assignment, our game plan, our practice, all those things. Somebody else will intercede and say to the coach, maybe a team captain, maybe a senior leader, and maybe another coach that says, hey, coach, so-and-so is looking pretty good. So the answer that you gave is the correct answer because it is stop focusing on your problems.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And the problem is when you talk to anyone, as simple as how was your day, people who start with all the issues, they will keep having those. I truly believe so. And when you say, well, it was not the best, but here was very good. I love to hear that kind of answer. So I don't have kids, but I have a lot of, circle of friends. And every time they start with something that it's all about negativity, I'm like, did you hear yourself? So yeah, I agree. I mean, it's all in there. I'm truly a believer of that.
So when you coach and mentor people, what is a cornerstone of your whole system, your whole framework? What is the cornerstone?
So all the people I mentored are small business owner or leaders. And so they always come up with, they are at a certain level where they are not able to pass that, to go above where they currently are, or they cannot get for the leadership aspect. They cannot get to certain people in their team, the associates or things like that. So again, the cornerstone is really like the ability to go from where they are, pass the challenge and go where they want to be and reevaluate at that time and understand do they understand what they did that changed the outcome? And once they understand that, they will be able to adapt that for the future issue they may have. When it comes to small business owners, it's more about like, I'm reaching a target, but every single month, and I can never get above that. So I see how they interact on their customer service aspects more, like how they handle clients instead of looking at the supply chain, at the, like things like that are important. But at the end of the day, if you don't take care of who buy your product, you will reach a point that it's the limit until you just improve your customer service or the way you treat your customers. So those are the majority of my conversations.
Okay. Let's jump into leadership. Mm-hmm. What is your perspective on leadership? What kind of impact does leadership make? How do you become a better leader? All those types of things.
Yeah. A lot of people call themselves leaders, but I believe that the majority are not leaders, they are managers. And I have that conversation a lot, difference between a manager and a leader. And a lot of organizations and a lot of people are managers, but they have no idea how to lead. A leader is someone who, lead by example, but someone who asks a lot of questions, someone who suggests things coming from the person who has issues, meaning telling by asking is what I always say. So the accountability piece in any kind of leadership situation is huge. So if you as a leader give all the tools, all the solutions to everybody's problem, you are not doing the best for that person, for those people. You are just giving them an answer to their question so they never think and they can never get to a point where they will be able to piggyback and share that knowledge to other people because it comes from me. So when I believe I know what the issue is, I ask a multitude of questions to make them say what I tried to tell them. Once they say it, I'm like, well, why don't you try that? Why don't you try what you just told me? But I drill them with multi-question to get to that point. Then what happened with the accountability piece? they will own it because that comes from them. So if I would have tell them that and they try and it fail, well, that's not me. You told me to do that. That's the managerial aspect. But if you give them the tool to actually get to the answer themselves and they try it, they will try a lot harder. They will be more persistent because it comes from them. And then you can celebrate the win and then you elevate your people instead of telling them what to do. And I think it's the biggest difference between the two. And I would never call someone or myself a leader until I can create other leaders. That's the first time I called myself a leader, is when I start creating more leaders who are able to do the same thing and even better than me. And that's the power of leadership for me.
Let me regurgitate that back. When you're a leader, you help people find their own solutions. It's an inside out game, meaning you're not telling them from the outside in. It comes from within them. So it's an inside out game where you help, it's basically you walk them through a solution finding process. They need to find the solution themselves. And you may already know the answer, but you're going to ask them questions so that they can discover the answer.
Yeah, 100%.
So you said you don't have kids, but as a parent, that's one of the secrets to success as a parent. It's not tell your kids what to do. It's to help them figure it out themselves. And
sometimes it hurts, but
yeah. And as a coach, it's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You just scream at a player that, hey, you dummy, you should have did X. They just kind of block it. They don't receive it and they don't like you and they don't change. Where if you put your arm around the kid and say, hey, how'd that work for you? That didn't work very well. What do you think it could have did differently? Maybe this. Anything else? And when they say whatever the answer is, you go, what kind of impact could that have made? And now it's going to stick because they figured it out. They understand the consequences and the impact of making a better decision, and you didn't tell them anything. So what's a manager?
A manager is needed as well, but it's another role. I think a manager is someone, I believe, who follow the script that has been given to them. They follow the tools that's been given to them. They have a certain objective to reach weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever it is, and they stick to the step-by-step framework that is black and white on paper to reach that objective. But they are unable most of the time to think for themselves and outside the box. And it's a lot of telling instead of listening. It's not leading by example. It's telling what they should be doing because the book says so. I do believe that the manager, it's not someone that will inspire someone else. And I'm all about inspiring people or be inspired by people. I'm not going to be inspired by someone who look at all the notes and said, okay, now you do this, after this, you do this. That doesn't inspire me. So I don't think I will be able to inspire people by doing the same. But by asking a lot of questions, understanding what they really struggle with and come up together with a solution that they can implement, I believe it's a lot more impactful.
So in an organization, how do you position leaders compared to managers so that you can have the highest productivity in your organization?
Like I said, everybody starts as a manager, on their journey to leadership, because we all went there. I was there as well. I think the teaching aspect of a manager, if they are coachable, still the same thing, and they're willing to get better. A manager is the first step to get to eventually to leadership and to become a leader and an influencer. But they need to be coachable and willing to go a little bit off script and to figure things themselves, fail, learn from the failure, and go from there. I think if you don't go to those steps, you will never become what you want to become. And in this aspect, it's from manager to leader. So I differentiate them usually by their actions, by their non-actions as well. And unfortunately, in corporate, I believe there are a lot more managers. They believe they are leaders, but they are really, really managers. And if you only look at results like data and things like that, you can have a long career as a manager. depending who the person on top is. If the person on top is someone who thinks like that as well, they will like you because you perform, but you're not creating a team that if you leave, everything collapses. A leader, if you are in a corporate setting, a leader leaves, the team should continue to elevate because they have the right message. They got the right message. They know what to do. With a manager on the helm, when they leave, usually everything collapses because they're waiting for what's next and they don't have someone to tell them anymore.
Nick, what pops into my brain is the difference between a game manager and a game leader as a quarterback at a level, whether it's college or professional football. And a game manager stays on script and doesn't elevate. It's not the high tide that rises all boats. He just does his job. And it's like 11 players independently working separately, but together to move the ball, but they're just sticking to the script. The game leader reads the situation and makes the play that the situation calls for, takes what the defense gives them, and doesn't worry about the consequences of the coach screaming at him if he happens to make the wrong decision. And he elevates everybody. He makes everybody else better. So I don't know if those concepts apply in business, but it's like a point guard in basketball.
It does.
Distributor, right? You got the game managers and you got the game leaders. The game managers are not going to try to, make a tight pass on a back door that could get, deflected or cause a turnover, where the guy that's the leader will do that and torch the defense and kill their morale, kill their confidence, and change the momentum of a game. And make the other guy and reward his teammate for making the effort to make the back cut.
I agree. I have a lot of names I'm not going to mention, but yeah, I can see some people that fit very well in each categories right now in my mind. But yeah, you're right. You're totally right. I believe that when we talk leadership, so, even on my own podcast, when you talk about leadership, we always say that, like, all our talk, it's made for business usually, because that's what we talk about. But it can be applied to your personal life easily, like your partners, your relationships, your friends, it can be applied everywhere. So it's not like a talk about business only. And it's the same for sports. Whatever you learn in business easily can be applied in sport and vice versa. For me, it's the same, because that was my first leadership experience was really in basketball. Like the ability to see how you can influence people just by the way you look at them, the way you talk to them, the way you motivate them. And so, yeah, I love what you said, because it's so relatable on every aspect.
Where's the place in your own business career where you stepped out of being a manager and transformed into being a leader? And what impact did that make on your business?
Huge. Great question. I was 25 years old, and I was, coming out of not playing basketball for 5 years and trying to figure out what I will do. And I started direct selling. And a lot of people are negative in Europe. I mean, same here, about direct selling industry, MLM and things like that. And I'm like, listen, if someone can make it, I will be able to do the same, because I will follow exactly what they tell me. And so at first, that's what I did. It was a company called Hamburg-Mannheimer in Germany, and they are a leader in Europe for life insurance. And so I was starting to sell life insurance. Then I became to a certain level very quickly, and I was able to lead a team. And so I started having people coming, and they have a framework, very clear framework of what to do, when to do it, and things like that. And I was growing, but I was not growing as fast that I wanted to grow. And then I decided to, with help from my mentor, I had a mentor at the time, like, what if I do this? What if I do that? And she said, stop asking me, do it. We're not saving lives. And that stick to my mind. And I still use that sentence to this day when I have people who are like, stop asking me. You have idea, do it, implement them. The worst case scenario is it doesn't work. Great. You know to not do it anymore and you can tweak to something different, but dare to try. And she gave me the tool to be able to do that. And I start changing the way to lead and the way to coach. Instead of focusing on the theory, I was focusing on the people. And when I start doing that, I start seeing that the team start elevating, still start believing it. More people coming on those meetings. And then everything changed. I went from having a team and beginning after 6 months, I had a team of like 8 people to a team to 300 people at the end of year 1, to a team of 1,000 people year 2, and eventually 3,200 people in 7 different countries by just changing their approach. Were successful, but very slow, to focus on the people instead of the product. And then everything started going up. And so that's at the time I just realized I was a manager all that time, following what we're supposed to follow, but I was not thinking. And I was not, bringing my own personality into the aspect of things, So that's the time at 25, 26 years old when I really realized the power of the people versus the product.
That's super dope. Super dope. Here's what I think happens. It happens in religion, it happens in sports, it happens in business, it happens in politics. People make a dummy script that will create average results. But if you really want to be great, you have to go off script. You have to follow your heart. You have to follow your intuition. You have to take risk, and you have to be okay with failing, because not everything's going to work. And I think a lot of people just want to go, they don't want to be average. They want to be great, but they've got an average game plan. And it's hard to be great when you're utilizing an average game plan. And if you want to be great, you got to modify the game plan so that it takes in your personality, your goals, takes into consideration the customer's needs, not what some corporate person said it should be. What is it? Ask your clients, ask your customers. They'll tell you. And really reinvent your script. So it's a script for greatness in your performance and production rather than just average.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
Okay. So you have a podcast, you have a book, you do coaching, you do mentoring, you help small businesses. For people that want to check you out, want to find you, would you mind sharing how they can check you out and locate you on the World Wide Web?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on every single social media platform with my name. So Nick Mornard. I'm everywhere, LinkedIn, of course, and all the other platforms you can think of. My website for the travel agency, but it's a lot of people contact me from there, and then we talk about other things as well. But it's jetsettinglifestyle.com. So that's a possibility. And then I have my own website, who is under construction right now, but it will be live in hopefully by the end of the year. Will be nickmornard.com, where I will be advertising, of course, the book, the mentorship program, and also the public speaking aspect. So more to come there, but it should be ready by the end of the year. It's on construction right now. I'm sure we'll be put in description as well, my informations.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. Nick, thank you so much for being on Pro Mindset. Thank you for sharing your story and putting up with me today.
No, thank you, Greg, for having me. It was really a great time, and very glad to know you and know your listeners as well.
Thank you very much. Hang tight.
Bye.
Hey, it's Craig Doman, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And more importantly, I hope you gained a pro mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.